Hello, I'm Richard Raffan. A few days ago I spotted some fiddleback grain on some logs in a firewood pile. So in this video you're going to see how I converted one of those into blanks and then rough turned them just to see how the grain would show up in a bowl. On each of these three logs there's the sign of some fiddleback, which is what this kind of corrugation feeling look is. It's most pronounced over here, and that usually means that pattern is going down into the wood. And the nice thing with this log is that the pith is way down at the bottom here, so I'll be able to should be able to get something out of that blank with the figure in the bottom of the bowl. So corrugations on the outside of a tree, on the bark, is a sign that you'll find similar stuff underneath. And so in this case, that red berry, so you've got the big corrugations there, and that should be showing up in the bottom of a bowl or on the wood once it's all smoothed off. So what I'm going to do here is to take a cross section through this point, and then I've got a short log I can deal with, and with the pith as it is up on the way over here, I'm thinking in terms of some kind of form, kind of enclosed form, what I call a pot, in that kind of an area. Now probably the best thing to do, because if this is going to be the bottom, tops up there, I don't really need this angle, and I'd like to know what's underneath the splits here. So the first job is going to be just to cut that straight off at an angle. Now, I've no idea what this wood is. It might be a melaleuca paper bark, but I'm not sure. It's not always a good idea putting a round log through a saw, but there's a lot of weight in this log, seems to go through okay, and the end grain looks very nice and clean. That's good. End grain up here is not so good. Big split. So it's really not where I want it. The grain, the figure is down here, the split's there, not quite what to do. I think I'm just going to have to cut it across the split. Which means there won't be a figure in the bottom of the bowl, it'll be up to one side. Right, you can see some very broad figure there. So it's just going to be a flatter bowl. That's all that means. Right, that's upright. I can push that through the saw and cut a small board out of it. That really is just to get a flat so that it's safe putting it through through the bandsaw, and there's still going to be quite a bit of figure coming across there, so that's okay. Come back to that in a second, and we've still got quite a bit of figure in here. Right, so I'm really looking for the split, which is still just there, and I'm going to cut that off a bit and just see if we can get rid of it. Not so much if we get rid of it, but if it goes. Thin slither. If I can get that, and then I can bend that and see. Now that's where the split is. So split across there. And take a line across there. Right, so I've taken a wedge out. There's figure all the way across that, so I think there's going to be a figure right the way through, which is quite good. Another little flat area. No, doesn't want to go. Right, so cut those into discs and take them to the lathe and see what we get in the way of a pattern. So I've taken to drilling holes to go over the chuck, drilling a hole with a Forstner bit, and I want this face parallel to the chuck body, so it's going to be about there. And if it's way out of whack, which the next block is, then I'll bring up the tail centre as well. And just going to rough this out, 1/2 inch spindle gouge as usual. I still don't know what this wood is, but it works quite nicely. Try a shear cut there and get a foot on it. A hole, just what I don't want. Can't see where it comes out, but that's working nicely. I need to get rid of that. A hole to me is not part of a work of art, it's a hole. It's high enough up the bowl wall, then I can cope with it, but probably just about cope with that. And the next blank is a bit bigger. And also on the skew. So it is fairly eccentric, so I'll bring up the tail centre for that. And that's really just to stop it moving on the chuck if it wants to. Put the speed down a fraction and then wind it up again. Oh, it's quite nicely balanced. Hint of a split. And there's the bit of the pith there, so I don't want that. Let's get that out of the way. Just do it in the right wing. And flatten it off from the bottom. So this can go straight round onto the other chuck. Before we get there, we'll do the small one first. For that, I'll use the 1/2 inch deep fluted gouge. So the good news is this wood's working quite nicely. I have no idea how it's going to twist or anything, but so I want a fairly even wall thickness. And just get a small shoulder, this is a 1/2 inch spindle gouge now. Could do that with a square and scraper, but that will allow me to expand the jaws inside a bit later. Because the hole, when I look at the end, you can see the pith is over towards this side. There's going to be quite a difference in the way this wood warps. If it's going to warp a lot, it might go quite D-shaped. So I need to keep an eye on that for a couple of days. I could try putting one of these in the microwave and drying it out and seeing what happens, but with all the figure there is here, I'd rather just kind of let it dry out naturally, I think. These are 55mm shark jaws gripping this, gripping a foot which must be close on 60mm. I suppose I better drill a depth hole. It's a 1/4 inch depth drill. Quite old, this one. It got lost in shavings and I found it in the garden slightly short of that mark. Oops, which I lost. Let me go down to that one. Already there. So, get down to the bottom of the hole first. Then I can see where all the other cuts are going to end up. Got this here, just look and see how it scrapes. It sounds pretty nice. Yeah, not quite as nice as I'd hoped. Thin the wall down just a shade uneven through where my thumb is. This wood's feeling kind of quite crisp. It'll hold an edge well, I'd say. It's very wet at the moment. I'd say it'll probably go off my meter. So this meter is 45 years old and bought in Britain. I'm in Australia. You won't be able to get hold of it. So please don't ask. And it's up to 26. So yeah, it's wet. And that will take, ideally I'd set that aside for 6 months or so. I might have a go at it in a few weeks, but basically that now gets a date on it, 25th of June 23, and then I know when it gets lost in a box. If I find it in 3 years' time, I'll know when I roughed it out.